press freedom is under a.ttack. Don&rsquo T wait for a journalist to be m.urdered to protest. President Trump and former FBI Director James Comey don't agree on much anymore. One of the more alarming sentiments they did share near the end of Comey's chaotic tenure last year was an exchange in which Trump suggested that journalists might talk about their sources if they spent a couple days in jail, according to a Comey memo released as part of his book tour. Comey said he laughed at the suggestion. Trump's antipathy toward the news media is well known, but to see the depth of his hatred for journalists come out in a private exchange like this with a federal law official threatens more sinister days to come. For the 262 journalists languishing in jails in countries such as Turkey, China and Egypt as of 2017, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, government punishment for reporting the truth is no laughing matter. Thursday is World Press Freedom Day, and this year it's more important than ever. Threats, intimidation, even killings of journalists for their work is on the rise from South America to Europe to Asia. This week, 10 journalists and photographers were killed in Afghanistan. Elections came and are coming this year in some of the more challenging countries, including Myanmar, Indonesia and Mexico. One Mexican journalist, Emilio Gutierrez Soto, is already sitting in jail, in the United States. He faces deportation by Trump a decade after fleeing here from Mexico in fear for his life after being named to a hit list of journalists. More, the global war against journalists. More, how about helping a Mexican journalist who told the truth? As president of the World Editors Forum, a group of international journalists tied to news and publishing organization WANIFRA, I watch colleagues around the world bravely fight oppression and privacy violations in their countries, reporting to overturn state capture in South Africa. Deep state censorship in Pakistan, where news organizations are forced to remove stories or stop reporting by unknown forces tied to the security apparatus. Investigations of digital media in India, where editors say they are routinely intimidated by the government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, despite constitutional guarantees of freedom of speech. My WhatsApp editors group list buzzes daily with each new challenge. Just last week, 13 more journalists were jailed in Turkey, which has more than 70 currently behind bars. We work together to support each other and lobby governments as best we can, but without public support it is always a difficult fight. That support does exist, when the public gets riled up enough. We saw it this spring in Slovakia, after journalist Jan Kuciak and his financier were shot dead in their home, apparently by local mafia. Public protests swelled in the days following the murders, to the point where several government officials were forced to resign for alleged ties to the mafia. We saw it after the murder of Maltese journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia in October, who was blown up in her car near her home. European officials have piled pressure on Maltese authorities to solve the murder in recent weeks. More, we need to restore trust in free speech. We're opening a new center to help, Napolitano Policing the USA, a look at race, justice. Media arrests have been made in both cases, but nobody believes that the people who ordered the killings are anywhere near justice. In fact, more than 90% of killings of journalists worldwide have gone unsolved, according to the CPJ. Back in America, the more Trump agitates, the more his supporters turn against the press. Colleagues covering the president report death threats and online trolling daily, including horrible verbal harassment against woman reporters. The idea of jailing journalists might have been a shared joke to the president and Comey, but it's no joke to an industry fighting for its life in a growing list of countries. The United States fell 2 places this year in the 2018 World Press Freedom Index, put together by Reporters Without Borders. It placed at number 45 among 180 countries in terms of press freedom, above Italy and behind Romania. Think about that. Romania. Trump is to blame here. Verbal violence leads to actual violence. We can see it playing out right in front of us. Jailings in Turkey and harassment in India are happening in real time. Don't take free speech for granted, and don't wait for a journalist to be murdered to protest. Wherever you are, including the US, it can happen there. 2. And is. David Calloway is president of the World Editors Forum and former editor-in-chief of USA Today. Follow him on Twitter, @Calloway.